Thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I would say one of the biggest challenges of, I would presume, of adapting Beauty and the Beast into a live action film is that it's arriving in theaters in 2017, not 1991.
Bonjour. Bonjour. Bonjour.
There goes the baker with his tray like moon waves.
Emma, how did you modernize Belle so that girls and women would recognize her as one of their own today?
You know, I feel that the original Belle was very progressive and quite modern for her time, and I think it was a case of kind of defending and protecting her original DNA and making sure that it wasn't kind of amalgamated into the concept or idea of a Disney princess, because actually she was a bit of a departure, and I was very keen on kind of like keeping that way. For example, there was a line that was written in the film which was, you know, we're going to make you look like a princess. And I said to Belle, I was like, the whole thing about Belle is that she doesn't want to marry a handsome prince. So do you mind if I say, oh, I'm not a princess? And he was like, yeah, sure, go for it. And I was like, okay, great. So it's little tweaks to dialogue. It was kind of co-opting what had originally been a Maurice storyline, which was him as an inventor, which I knew that Kevin wasn't going to use. And I wanted to use it for Belle because I wanted her to have a vocation. I wanted her to have a bit more of a backstory. I wanted us to understand her a little better. And so that was really fun, giving her that quality. You know, and I think it wasn't so much the big things as catching the small little details, you know, down to like, you know, in the original she wears ballet shoes for the entirety of the movie, and I wanted to make sure that she really looked like she could do something, that she could ride a horse, that she could fight a pack of wolves.
It's hard to do that in ballet shoes.
It's pretty hard to do that in ballet shoes.
And I've tried.
Yeah, Dan's tried many times. So anyway, it was just catching those little things, those little details, yeah.
And Dan, is the Beast as beastly?
As in the animated
Yes.
film, I hope so. I think you know, we've definitely retained some of the you know, the monstrous animal side of him, but I think also what we tried to retain was the Beast's humor. And there's, you know, he's definitely a character that makes you laugh in that film, and I wanted that to be preserved as well. And so in exploring that, you know, obviously the animated film, the comedy comes from a bit more of a cartoony sort of place, and so we looked at, you know, ways in which he could be funny in this, and ways in which Beast might make Emma Watson's Belle laugh. And so he, you know, I think he had to have a wit, a dry sense of humor and intelligence about him. So yeah, we sort of, you know, I think we've been faithful to the fact that Beast is funny, just in a slightly different way.
Come, come, show me the smile. Oh no.
Emma, you came from a world of CGI for years and years and years and years in the Harry Potter films.
I did.
So did some of that feel like old hat to you this time around?
I felt very grateful for having had the kind of Harry Potter in many ways was the best acting school I could ever have attended, because I had to do it all, like scenes with animals, scenes with special effects, scenes with stunts, all sorts of things were going on. And so I think it did prepare me well for this. Mind you, I think bringing Beast to life and making sure that you could really feel on screen the human chemistry of two people falling in love, you know, really took on its own challenges. And, you know, I think having a real actor there in the scene with me was pretty amazing. Figuring out how to dance with Dan on stilts, pretty difficult.
That's what I was going to ask you. What was the most awkward thing to do?
Probably that.
Probably that.
Or walk down the stairs. That was quite
That
tough.
was really difficult.
Fortunately, there's that moment where they hold hands. And I was very, very grateful for Emma
I
being
loved
there.
it. There were some amazing sort of role reversal moments in our story, actually, which is one of the reasons I love it, and in real life, in that it was sort of me going down, I've got you, Dan. Like, it's okay, I've got you, or like doing the dance and being like, you know, I was the stabilizer, I was the balancing force, actually, and.
I was certainly very grateful for Emma's experience with this kind of world of CGI madness, and I think there are plenty of actors who would have looked at me far stranger than Emma ever did. Unfortunately, it's a story about looking past monstrous exteriors and seeing the human happening inside,
Yeah.
which Emma's really good at.
No.
Now, the one element of Beauty and the Beast that ages a little bit differently than the rest of the story is that, in essence, Belle falls in love with her captor.
You'll join me for dinner. That's not a request.
I'm just curious, how did you adapt that element of this film in a way that makes sense to you today?
Right. Yeah, the Stockholm Syndrome question. It's
Well, it's funny because I watched it the other night, and I watched it so differently than I did when I was a kid watching. It made sense to me when I was a kid that Belle
Right.
would fall in love with the Beast because they had such a unique relationship, but through an adult's eyes,
Yeah.
it is a bit different.
I mean, I suppose the moment at which she falls in love with him and he with her really is the moment where he sets her free, and that's the only moment at which that love can take place. Really, I mean, I think there's an affection building slowly, but really it comes from a place that Beast doesn't really recognize when he sets Belle free, and I don't know. Would you go along with that?
I would totally go along with that. I mean, I think it was something that I wrestled with, and I sort of questioned, and I thought about deeply. And then I remember, really, I was like, okay, I need to look up. I really need to remind myself what the definition of Stockholm Syndrome is, and it's actually when the captive takes on the views and opinions and she
adopt the cause.
when they adopt the cause,
style,
and Belle never does that. She basically disagrees with Beast on most things and tries to escape whenever she can, and she just keeps her independence of mind and her independence of thought. So I realized immediately that didn't fit. I also think that it was very important to me that you saw moments where you understood that Belle had a choice to come back and stay and rescue Beast, and that's a conscious decision that she makes. And I think that was a very important
Turning
point
yeah.
for me, feeling comfortable with that concept.
Now, in this one, there's much more backstory about both of your characters. You both lost your mothers in very similar ways, it seemed. How did that kind of feed into their connection, do you think?
Oh, I think it really does.
Yeah, it's not overly explicit, but I think it's definitely something that they have in common that unites them. And I mean, there's a few things really.
A sense of loss, I think, a sense of being outsiders, a sense of not belonging. These are the points of connection that Dan and I were trying to find for what they have in common and how they fall in love. And yeah, I think I hope we pulled it off. I think we pulled it off.
How young were you when you first were told that you looked kind of like Belle? You know.
Oh, thanks.
I think you look a lot like, I mean, everybody thinks you look like her, but I'm curious, how young were you when people started telling you this?
That's so interesting. I don't think anyone ever told me that. My big dilemma, my big trauma as a young woman was I wanted to be Emma Bunton from the Spice Girls. And my best friend had blonde hair, but my name was Emma. And this was a big controversy of who got to be her in the group. And
Why? Was it Emma Bunton or Baby Spice particularly?
Baby Spice.
Right.
Baby Spice. Yeah, the Spice Girls. That was my big drama.
Did you ever meet her?
You know what? I never have. And I think if I
can make
did.
that happen. In
think so.
fact,
Oh no! It's so funny. I mean, yeah. Let's leave that there.
Okay.
that's new information to me. That's
go.
very exciting.
You guys get some new songs in this film.
do,
Yes. Which one did you sing in the shower the most? What,
I sang Evermore a lot. I mean, that was, yes. I was singing it all over the house to the extent that my kids then started singing it, and I heard my son sort of singing. He kind of came up with his own little version of it. I heard him playing one day in his room, and he was sort of singing it. And I sang it a lot. But amazing to work with Alan Menken and have him write some new music that sits alongside the great music that already exists.
I just listened to Beauty and the Beast just because it made me happy. I didn't even get to sing it. I didn't even have anything to do with it really. I just
It's so catchy, that tune.
It's so catchy, and I think it's really the heart and the spirit of the film is that song, and like it just gets you in the mood. just gets you in the zone, you know? It's like, yeah, we're gonna do a Disney musical. It's happening.
And on a bookish question, your characters seem to know some Shakespeare lines by heart. Do you guys know, like, what lines from books you guys keep memorized or that you go back to?
Ooh.
God.
I do love a quote. I love a
I
quote.
love a good quote, and I can't remember any of
Good,
them.
I know. I was putting you on
You
the
put me on
spot.
the
It's
spot.
always the way.
Or is there a book that you guys go to when you really just need like a, I don't know,
Some comfort.
some comfort? Yeah.
Can I tell you a really embarrassing one?
Yes.
I would say don't tell anyone, but this is an interview. But yeah, whenever I'm ill or unwell, or like ill and unwell are the same thing, but or sorry, I was going to say like really jet lagged and I can't sleep. I watched Julie and Julia. Like I am terrified actually how many times my iTunes player would tell me that I've watched that film.
That's why I read Julia Child's book when she was in Paris, because I watched that and I was like, I need to read the source material.
Yeah, this is so good. But it's like that perfect like mix of like sort of food porn shots where you're like, oh, French food, like, oh, so good. And then like there's something so comforting about Meryl Streep and Amy Adams in that movie. It's like comfort food. I'll go and make myself a bowl of cereal and I'll watch Julie and Julia.
I'll accept that. Do you have a
That's it.
comfort movie?
I do. I suppose With Nell and I. It's an old British movie made in the early 80s.
That's so much more sophisticated than mine.
Is it though? I don't know if it's sophisticated, but it's certainly, I can watch it any time of the day or night. I love it
guess-
inside and out.
I guess
and it's
this
one
is
that I
when-
quote a lot with my friends.
This is when I tell you that I love Teen Witch.
Oh, there you go.
Great
See?
choice.
Thank you.
Sometimes you need to just regress a bit,
I thought
you
were gonna
know?
say Teen Wolf. I
No,
love Teen
it's
Wolf.
important to go for Teen Witch, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.